Why do you think two grown men playing cards are doing it with pacifiers in their mouths? Are these actually card players who have given up smoking? For example, why do the guys here need that strange device sticking out of their behinds? And why are they holding buckets in their hands? The correct answer is that these are students from an agricultural institute with special stools for milking cows. Today we will look at the most unusual photographs. Those who defined this era and, I dare say, changed the world. And we will also learn the story of their origin. Let's go! President Kennedy in the Oval Office, Marilyn Monroe, Albert Einstein, victory over Japan Day in Times Square, Gala and Salvador Dali, Winston Churchill, the first meeting of Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini. And those two photos from the beginning of the video. Besides the era, these photographs are also united by their author, Alfred Eisenstaedt. Alfred's photo story is amazing. This 1933 photo from Germany is an example. Can you identify who's in it? Yes, that's Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's closest associate and the Minister of Propaganda of the Third Reich. But that formal smile from the first photo won't last long. A few seconds later, Goebbels finds out that the photographer taking his picture is Jewish. In this revealing second shot, the Nazi politician's eyes are full of anger and hatred. Alfred Eisenstaedt fled Germany for America before the mass repressions started in his homeland, narrowly escaping persecution. Some of Alfred's interesting photographs are highlighted, where the subject matter is not immediately clear without explanation. And these photos by Eisenstaedt were taken during a puppet show in 1963. Children are watching a performance about St. George and the Dragon. Specifically, this touching photograph was sold at auction in 2007 for $48,000. Here we have an Afghan girl. I'm sure you've seen this photograph. We even put it on the cover of our issue about Afghanistan. By the way, you can click on the suggestion here and take a look. Steve McCurry took the photograph while gathering information about the Afghan-Soviet War. He photographed this girl in a refugee camp in Shatra, which served as a local school. The photo later became known as the Afghan Mona Lisa, symbolizing the Afghan conflict and global refugee crisis. Moreover, the photograph became the most recognizable in the entire history of the magazine, where it was published in 1985. The child's name was unknown, so the photo was simply called Afghan Girl. In 2002, 17 years later, a team of journalists discovered her name. By then, Sharbat Gula was already 30 years old. This photograph is known as Ladies Invite Gentlemen to the White Dance, and it dates back to the year 1900. One theory suggests the dance's name, white, is linked to the predominant clothing colors of the late 19th century, black for men and white for women. A public announcement of the white dance gave young ladies the right to invite gentlemen. The man coming out of the basement was indeed hunting rats, and it wasn't just an illusion. Now, rat catcher is one of the professions that has disappeared. However, in 1904, which is exactly when this photo was taken, rat catchers searched the sewers of Europe and were paid for every rat they killed. If the rat catcher hunted rats with a gun, then who were the gentlemen hunting? Here is this photograph. The answer is simple: ducks. With one shot, this firearm monster could shoot down up to 50 birds at once. It was banned for being too effective, which led to the disappearance of a large number of waterfowl. Whose personal fan team do you think this is? The photo was taken at the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 1964. Video recording was not used in running competitions at that time. Therefore, about 24 officials watched to see who would cross the finish line first. It is noteworthy that at the bottom you can see a special camera on a tripod. Yes, it automatically took a photo of the athlete when he crossed the finish line, but its data was not taken into account. These records were officially allowed to be used only in 1968 at the Olympic Games in Mexico. And this is what one of the first tests of the bulletproof vest looked like. This brave man took the initiative, and he was ceremoniously shot in the name of science and the defense industry. Of course, we can't fail to mention the unknown rebel. The famous photograph refers to the events in Beijing during the unrest in June of '89. It was the largest civil protest in the history of communist China. The shot of a solitary, shadowy figure fearlessly stopping the tanks became the beginning of the myth about the unknown rebel, also called tankman. In the West, The photograph was reprinted countless times, used as the cover of magazines, books, and photo albums, inserted into films and television programs, and finally declared one of the 100 most important images of the 20th century. According to Time magazine, despite the existence of different versions of his identity, Tankman's name remains truly unknown. The incident with the photograph was also recorded on video, showing the rebels' further actions as he climbed onto the tank with his bags. And later, people from the crowd will take the man away somewhere far. And this is a girl from a cotton factory in South Carolina. The photo was taken by the staff photographer of the American National Child Labor Committee, Louis Hine. In 1908, for almost 10 years, he traveled all over the United States, from the Pacific to the Atlantic coast, under various pretexts. Posing as insurance agents, salesmen, preachers, or industrial photographers, he gained access to factories and plants that employed child labor. In November 1908, he came across a girl named Sadie Pfeiffer. She was one of many young working children, standing by a giant cotton spinning machine in Lancaster, South Carolina. Child labor, which was widely used in industrial enterprises and depicted in many other photographs, was banned. Only in 1938 was this photograph called The Vanishing Race. It was taken in 1904. The photograph was the calling card of the photographer Edward Curtis. Fearing the inevitable disappearance of America's first inhabitants, the photographer tried to document various tribes, to show this people of ancient Indians, their clothing, their rituals, their lives, their manners. Over more than 2 decades, Curtis turned his photographic observations into a 20-volume chronicle about 80 tribes. But the most popular was this very photograph by Craze, showing the Navajo Indians riding away into the dusty distance. For Curtis, this photograph embodied the difficult situation of the Indians, who were disappearing into the darkness of an unknown future. The next photograph, titled Gaga, carries a lot of meaning and symbolism. As a result of the publication of photographs from the international conference, photographer Eric Zaloman was given the nickname King of Tactlessness for his bold angles and unexpected approaches in political portraits. Specifically in this photo, for 30 years, important government officials with cigars and brandy are discussing the matter of the meeting. German reparations after World War I turned out to be an important issue for the whole world because, as is known, it was precisely the unbearable reparations imposed on Germany that became fertile ground for the rise of Hitler's regime and the reasons for the Germans' hatred toward the coalition that won World War I. All the more tragic is the fact that the photographer Erich Zaloman died in Auschwitz 12 years after the publication of his photograph. But that's all for today. Write in the comments which photos impressed you the most, and see you in future episodes on our channel.